Now, after the Taliban's sweeping takeover of Afghanistan, there's been some concern in another region of the world where Western forces have been trying to fight an Islamist insurgency. France, notably, has been very active in West Africa's Sahel region. To talk to us a little bit more about this, let's bring in Niagalé Bagayoko to the show. She's the president of the African Security Sector Network. Thank you so much for joining us. The shocking images at Kabul airport, the Taliban in Afghanistan's presidential palace were broadcast around the world. What kind of impact do they have for citizens and jihadist groups in the Sahel?
As regards the jihadist groups themselves, immediately after we've seen that the Taliban were progressing very, very fast, Niagalé, who is the chief of the JSIM affiliated to Al-Qaeda, said that it was a pre-victory for all those involved in jihadism. And he has been worrying that your partisans have to be as patient, as resilient, and as effective as the Taliban has been. And he said it's been a very long fight for them, and we have been fighting for 10 years now. It took them 20, and so we have to be inspired by them.
And Chad has just announced that it's pulling half of its contingent out of the international G5 Sahel force. France made similar announcements months ago, the French army having been very active in the region for almost a decade with little gains. Should we fear something similar happening in one of the Sahel countries?
I think that there is two ways to consider the situation. As regards Chad, I think the reason why the contingent is going away, is leaving, the place where it's deployed in Niger is completely different. It is because there is a need for Chadian soldiers to be deployed to fight internal rebellions. As regards France, it is slightly different because the French forces from Operation Barkhane will be, in fact, redeployed in another kind of disposal. And now the kind of systems of security will be more organized around special forces and around training missions. But what is very similar to what is happening in Afghanistan is, in fact, the doctrinal approach, which both as regards France and as regards American is still based on very old doctrine to counter insurgency, which in fact have proved to be completely failing to fight rebellions, terrorist groups, etc. Since the Vietnam War. And there is today a need to think about all those old approaches which are still used to fight new groups who are in fact using very effective, very efficient and very modern tactics on the ground.
So lastly, what are the key lessons to be learned from the US's military pullout from Afghanistan, both for France but also the Sahel countries?
I think it is very important to consider that the American failure is not only a military one. It is a collective failure also from state-building agencies, development agencies, governance-related programs, which are in fact inspiring all those international intervention, including in the Sahel. And today, there is a need to realize that it is absolutely indispensable to know and to develop a very, very good and deep knowledge of local environments. I think it is in a large part because of the lack of understanding and the lack of awareness of the kind of sociological and political environment and context that international collective instruments today are in crisis, both in Afghanistan, but also in Iraq, Syria, and of course in the Sahel.
All right, that's all we have time for, I'm afraid. Niagalé Bagayoko from the African Security Network. Thank you so much for joining us.